going in. There's no better shooter on our team, and here to help us sell more ultimate sets is Mr. Luciano Pataki.
What's up? Thanks for that intro. I like the basketball analogy. Am I able to share my screen for PowerPoint or no? Is that okay? Figure it's a little better than just staring at my face for however long this takes.
How do I do it?
Make me a host.
Okay, thanks. Okay. Whatever.
Right. Yeah. How am I going to? Thanks, Case. Share my screen. Cool. Is it working? Can you see it? Okay, cool. Um, so selling ultimates, obviously my favorite thing to sell. If you guys don't realize it already. So it's something that, I'm all about efficiency and, even after Bert's talk, 10K days at the fair, obviously the most efficient way to do that, quickest way to do that is just sell more ultimates. Obviously kitchens are great, packages are great, but really that's why I have such a big focus on it every year. I'm always trying to get better. Even last year I had such an even deeper like focus on the ultimate that I sold more than I ever have. I don't know the exact number. I wasn't at net, but I heard I was number two, which was pretty cool in the nation. And my goal is always to do in like the top five, top four. And it was cool being number two. Um, yeah, I was shooting for number one, but number one person sold like 600K more than me. So I'll live with it. But yeah, so I've always it's always been something that I'm always like tweaking, always trying to get better. So whether you've heard me talk about this in the past, this is actually kind of a reiteration of my net talk that I did a couple years ago. Unfortunately, I was the last person or on the last day in the morning, so like I walked up on stage and there was like I don't know 5 people in the room. So I figure it won't hurt to kind of cover this stuff again. So whether you heard this talk, or you heard another talk on it, I just encourage, to kind of, there's always something you can get, like Bert said, you can always get better at something. I always say like, we're never good enough. You can always learn, always tweak things, always get better. And at least get some good reminders to kind of reaffirm your stuff, reaffirm you on ultimates. So goal of this message is just, for you guys to leave reaffirmed on how great the ultimate is. If you guys don't already know that, I'm sure you do. The impact it can have on your business at the fair this year. And then hopefully at the end, just kind of go through my approaches and some tips, kind of how I structure everything to hopefully help you sell more ultimates and then, more efficiently, but then also um, more signatures, just more big sets in general, signatures, homemakers, and then, so yeah, I'll kind of go over the power of the ultimate, why I love them, some mindset things, kind of like I said, how I frame the pitch, and then dropping down, which again is just as important. So let me see if this works. Cool. So yeah, so a couple ultimates can really change your day. Like I said, it's the quickest way to have that 10K day. Really, you could do it in three orders if you really wanted to, right? So it's a great way to take your bad days and turn them into good days, and then take those good days and turn them into great days. I'll never forget. I always tell this story. The first year, I guess it was the first year I worked at New York State Fair, back when we did the half shifts. Yeah, I was in COP1. I had to pack up halfway through the day and go to COP2. I remember it was super slow. It was like a random weekday. First couple hours, just nobody walking through. Hadn't done anything, and then lady walks up in her PJs, basically, just like, hey, just killing some time at the fair. She had just seen a demo like last week. Her kid came to her house. She didn't buy anything, which I thought that was kind of weird. So I'm like, whatever, like there's nobody here. So I did my full demo with her. Long story short, she ends up buying two ultimate sets, each for gifts. Tried to sell her a third one. She shot it down, wasn't happening. But that was like the start of the day. So super excited. Again, it's started off with that, had another demo, couple comes up, sell a third ultimate. I'm like, wow, this is crazy. Like I never sold three in a day at that point. My shift was almost done. I'm packing up, literally putting my knives away. Couple comes up, like as I'm packing up, I was still on the clock, do a demo. And at this point, I'm excited. I'm just like, hey, like this has been the top sold set today. Like this is all everybody buys, if budget allows it. this is the one you should get, right? The confidence is just high at this point. And end up closing the fourth one, and I'm going halfway through the day, the second half the shift at 12, 13K for the day. Um, it's just you a lot more excited, right? When you're halfway through the day and it's only three orders over 13, 12, 13K. So that's the power, of an ultimate. So I kind of broke down some math. Because again, it's funny. I always get amazed every time I roll an ultimate. I'm like, God, it's just so great, right? So you have an ultimate flatware combo, 3847. That line one before tax, obviously. 3100 CPO. Again, packages are great. They're sexy. Combos, kitchens are great, right? Nothing wrong with a signature dedicated chef. Anybody would be excited to sell that 40, basically $5,000 that they're spending, 3900 CPO. Now let's say you do an accomplished set in a flatware package combo, and they're spending almost $6,000 with their sales tax. It's 3900 CPO. If you sell an ultimate, it's 3500, right? It's definitely easier to sell a set of knives than multiple things. I'm sure most people could agree. Like I said, a couple ultimates can really change a day. So again, I'm a big believer in working smarter, not harder. Again, if we're already at the most expensive event that you're going to work this year, that pretty much any of us will work this year, why not maximize your time there and just really focus on the best set of knives? It's the quickest way to jump your averages. Now it's average order is a big talk in the company. This is the best way to do that. So let's say kind of do some more math, because again, I'm a big numbers person. So let's say you random weekday, get 5 orders, right? So first order of the day, you have the ultimate upgrade. It's first order of the day. You get excited because a couple comes up, or you're excited about a big day. Couple comes up, you end up closing this super sweaty deal, blocking 5 knives, and it's 850 CPO, whatever. You're on the board. You're excited, right? Next order is a replacement table knife. It's like husband and wife. Husband walks away. She needs a table knife. She's like, "Oh, I'll just go online. Whatever, it's fine." Like, hey, like, don't you want me to get credit for it? Sometimes the New Yorkers are like, "No, I don't really care." And you're like, "Hey, I'll literally pay your sales tax. Like, let me just do it right now." Okay, sounds good. She throws her credit card at you. Whatever. On to the next one, right? Third order, do a great ultimate demo for somebody, and they love the idea of it. They want to do it. There's no version of them doing that in their budget right now. So I sell them on the idea of the upgrade program of getting them just started on a 5-piece tray set, because they're going to upgrade. They're going to hopefully come see you next year. It's not always the case, but that's the goal, right? Plant the seeds for future business. Then you get a cheese knife. Lady comes up like, "Oh, I use this knife with the holes in it at my friend's house. That's just the best knife ever. Like, can I just get one of those?" Doesn't want to look at anything, won't let you do a demo of anything else, like just wants a cheese knife. Sounds good. Write the order, on to the next one. Lastly, you finally pop the ultimate, right? If you haven't done the math, I already did it for you. That's $5,100 day on a slow day, let's call it. And that's over $1,000 average. How good would it feel if you knew going into fair season this year that no matter what happens, is you're going to have a minimum of $1,000 order behind the booth? Like, sometimes it can get overwhelming when you think about those numbers, but it's really, when you see the math, it's not that hard to do. You can still have these small orders, but that's the power that an ultimate has, is it can quickly turn around those days. So it starts with belief. Again, a lot of this stuff can be, again, it's elementary. I even remind myself constantly of some of these things. It's easy to say that, oh, you believe that, everybody deserves an ultimate, right? My belief in the ultimate is unshakable. Like, it's probably to a fault sometimes. Like, I truly believe that every single person should have an ultimate. Like, it doesn't matter, right? Maybe sometimes it hurts me. I don't know, but that's just my belief in it. So, do you believe everyone should have an ultimate? The way I look at it, it's like anyone who really cooks a couple times a week, if they grill and barbecue, like, it's a no-brainer. If they have a family, again, husband and wife and like a kid or 2 kids, like, again, no brainer. Or if they just like nice things, if they have Rolex on, they have Louis Vuitton, like, that's not always an indication of it, but like, if they have those things, they like nice things. Who doesn't want the biggest and the best thing of what we make? And if you don't think the same way, you take a step back and ask why, because they can smell these things. Like, maybe you feel like you believe in, you can play it off, but the end of the day, customers can notice these things if you don't actually feel that way. Do you think that 3,800 bucks is too expensive for knives? It's totally normal. I thought that many times, especially growing up into the business. Think about, I try to look up the stats and I don't know if there's a way to do this, but I am curious about the amount of like sales that are generated at the fair, like how much money people are spending at the fair. It'd be actually a really interesting thing to track. But a lot of money is spent there, right? An ultimate is still less than the price of a massage chair or a hot tub that they're going to be excited about for a couple months and then forget about it. It's going to collect dust, right? Um, Obviously, the with Cutco, it's like they're getting, I mean, you guys know, they're literally going to have for 30, 40, 50 years, their entire life. They're going to hand it down to their kids. Like they can do stupid things with it and they're still going to get it replaced for free. Like it's says so much more value than a hot tub or a massage chair that they're not going to use, be excited about in a few years. So, don't, it's worth, Cutco's worth every single penny, even at full price. We don't need to devalue it. People spend, at the end of the day, people will spend money on what they value or, what their perceived value is of something. It's just our job to create that value. For some people, maybe they really don't like, I've talked to some people like, yeah, like nobody needs all those pieces in Ultimate. Maybe you're just not sold on why people need those pieces at some point in their life. So I encourage you to take a step back and really over the next couple months, really learn the names and uses, like really understand the names and uses, but then also learn other names and uses besides the surface level names and uses, right? Don't be afraid of the cleaver. Don't be afraid of the salmon knife and the small bread knife. Have like be able to pivot when if they don't grill and barbecue. Cool. How can you pivot your ultimate names and uses to fit that person's needs? Do you prejudge? This is the most important one. I see this all the time, and it's like the number one thing that holds people back from selling ultimates or more ultimates. Those of you who work with me or know or have worked with me in the past, I'm very systematic. I do the same demo with every single person every time. And the crazy thing is, a lot of random. I've sold ultimates to a lot of different kinds of people. 18, 19-year-olds. I've sold them to 85-year-olds in a walker. I'll never forget that lady. I've sold them to toothless people that look like they should not be spending the money, and I almost like feel bad for them buying it, but they're really excited about it. So it's like the demo and the product is great. So you never know who's going to say yes, right? You can't prejudge. It's not your job to decide who can and can't afford the ultimate or who does it and doesn't value an ultimate. It's just your job to do the best demo with every person every time and give everybody that best Cutco experience. We keep saying this is the biggest and the best event in the regions, back to back Erie and New York State. Those are the two biggest events in the region and some of the top now in the nation. So the customer experience needs to reflect that. So this is what I call, I had some boot setup stuff. I'm going to just skip over that, but this is what I call my ultimate roadmap. It's essentially kind of the steps that I follow. It's almost now at this point, I'm going to call it like a foolproof method of kind of just how to introduce things, the roadmap for it. So I'll kind of just go through, and I don't know timing wise if I ever need to go quick, just shoot me a text. But I'm kind of just going to go through the approach and then kind of like explain why things are done and set a certain way. So basically, essentially, you start with whatever your intro is, do your intro, and then you start with the concept sell of the ultimate. Like you're not getting in here of like explaining all the knives that are in there. It's just the concept of what the ultimate is. Like, hey, this is our complete set. This is their best set. It's like a full toolbox on the counter. Obviously, we know you're not going to use all these knives every single day. That's not why people buy this set. But honestly, if you guys like to cook, if you chop a lot of veggies, and if you grill and barbecue, this is the best set because it has all that stuff in there. Obviously, I'm sure if you haven't counted already, it's got 12 of the steak knives in the bottom. We know you're not using 12 steak knives every day. I don't know if you even like that many people, but what's great is like my wife and I, we love having 12 because we don't run our dishwasher every day. So we'll use like a couple, and then maybe on like day 4, we finally run our dishwasher and we run out of them. And then, occasionally we have people over. So it's nice having the 12 in the bottom. So that's our complete set. Then we have our basic set. So this is our original set from the 40s. It's just 10 basic knives, I tell customers, even if you don't cook, it's just 10 basic knives that you'll have on the counter for the rest of your life. Next, and at this point, I have my because we have the one board, and then I open up the homemaker pieces as I'm kind of explaining. I'm just showing them, I'm not explaining the names, the uses. I'm just showing them, hey, it's these pieces here. Next, we have our family set. So actually, our two bigger sets are built off of our original set. So it includes everything that's in our basic set, plus 4 pieces out of our complete set. So first, you get the cheese knife. Sell them on the cheese. Everybody knows how to sell a cheese knife. Next, we add in our mini chopper. Because the complaints with the smaller set is that customers are just saying that one chef knife is never enough for most kitchens. It's always dirty. It's always being used. Everybody chops veggies. So we added in a second chopping knife with this set. Next, they added one of the barbecue knives from the full set. So this is feel the weight of this guy. This is for your racks of ribs, chicken wings at the joints, anything that's just like tough or heavy duty. This is awesome. And then last, you get our super shears. Take them apart. Again, you guys know how to sell the shears. Here I'll sometimes even cut the penny. So I actually will then pick up those pieces as I'm explaining it and put them in the middle so that it's kind of off of the board. And then you circle back to the ultimate. This is where a lot of reps make the mistake, and this is where like you actually sell the ultimate, right? And this like it's the difference between selling a signature and selling an ultimate. So now my goal is I want to go and sell hard on those remaining 6 pieces. So so now just so you can see what you're missing from the full set, it has everything we already talked about, plus these additional pieces here. So first we have our new longer paring knife. So this is the only set that has 2 of these, and I'll actually pull up both. Because what we found is people just abuse this poor little guy. They use it for everything. They use it on the cutting board. You're really not supposed to use it on the cutting board. People do anyway. So we actually gave it a big brother where you can use it on the cutting board. It's not going to dull anywhere near as quick as a small one. So it's again the only set with 2 cutting boards or with 2 paring knives. Next, we have our boning knife. This is the only knife Cutco makes for raw meats. So it's like I said, this kind of has all the grill knives. So there's a couple more grill and barbecue pieces in this one. So if you guys ever like trim the fat off of like a pork butt or a brisket, okay, cool. Or if you ever like butterfly chicken breast for chicken cutlets or trim the fat off, even if you're doing like strips for like a stir fry, this is the best knife for your raw meats. Next, the question, do you guys ever do like a brisket every now and then? Okay, awesome. So this is the best brisket knife. Briskets, roast, ham. It's awesome because you can actually cut through a brisket, even if it's super tender, and it's not going to tear the bark off. And I'll show a video. I have a video of the brisket I made for Christmas, and I show the visual. If you have pictures, show pictures, tell personal stories. Cool. So you guys ever do briskets? Awesome. Oh, sorry. I'm supposed to let somebody in. Don't know. Oh, there we go. All right, sorry. Got it. So brisket. Cool. Show the picture of it. And then next we have a third chopping knife. So like I said, we know people chop a lot of veggies, a lot of prep. So this set is this set actually has 3 chopping knives total. So you get the basic one, you get the Santoku style, and you get my personal favorite. Feel the weight of this guy. A lot of people think it's super heavy. It's actually not. It's just another chopping knife. It's great because you can section things, dice and chop, smash garlic, scoop it up on the blade. It's just, it's a great knife for chopping, prep, things like that. Lastly, you have one of my favorites, the cleaver. Feel the weight of this bad boy, right? And I kind of lean into like what they're already thinking. It's like, yeah, that knife's great for all the bad attitudes in the house, neighbors, intruders, that kind of stuff. Kind of get the jokes out, let them laugh about it, and I'm like, honestly, it's funny. I used to not use this one a whole bunch. Now we actually use it quite a bit. So we buy our meat from our local farmer at our farmer's market, and a lot of times it's frozen. So this is the only knife Cutco makes, so you can actually cut their frozen solid meat. It's awesome. You can't really do that with any other knife. Also, Pierce, do you guys ever do like a butternut squash, spaghetti, acorn squash, any of those tough root veggies? Yeah, they're like rocks, right? They're terrible. They're so hard to cut. I actually had a customer send me a picture recently that she tried to cut through an acorn squash with one of our other knives and it snapped in half. So this is the best knife that's much safer and easier to cut those tough, heavy duty things. And I love this cleaver because so many cleavers, they're either really heavy duty and they're not sharp, or they're pretty sharp, but they're just brittle and they'll snap. So I love this because it's a perfect combination of really heavy duty, but also really sharp. So like I said, so the complete set is these guys, the middle set is this, and the basic set is this. So So now you kind of price compare. So basically so now you're probably thinking, oh my gosh, how expensive is this stuff? It's definitely not cheap. But like I said, it's a forever investment. You're literally never going to buy knives again. So I'll show you the deals we have going on here at the fair. Like I said, it's our biggest event of the year. Real quick, I'm curious, have you guys ever looked at other high-end knives? Um, yeah, so I always would tell customers like if Cutco never existed, I'd probably buy Shun just because they're first of all they look really cool. They're super sharp knives. A lot of the celebrity chefs use them. They're really good. The issue is you almost have to baby them. You have to hand wash only. If you drop it and break the tip off, you have to replace your $300 $400 chef knife yourself. Also, you have to do constant honing and sharpening of these things. You notice a lot of the sets they include these honing rods. You have to consistently sharpen it after every use. What's great with Cutco, there's no daily honing required. We don't even include a honing rod in any of our sets. Oh my gosh, yeah, actually totally forgot to mention. By the way, part of that warranty I was telling you about at the beginning, on top of the free replacements, we actually do free sharpening anytime. So the extra perk of when you shop with us here at the fair is we host local sharpening events every year throughout the year for our clients. Um, so let me show you and then I open up the book. I show the complete set. So, this normally retails for 4,800 or 4,600 discounted to 38. Now we realize that nobody ever budgets for knives, ever planned expense at the fair, just like the hot tubs and the massage chairs. So what Cutco does for loyalty for our customers is we do this reverse layaway program. Now, what's cool about it is just 20% on your card today. Don't worry, there's no interest, there's no financing, no credit check, nothing like that. It's your personal credit card. You don't apply for a Cutco credit card. We actually mail you the set to your house in about a week. And then the next 4 months, they just bill it automatically off that same card. And again, it's 0% interest. So it's super easy. Next, we have our family set. Here's this price, explain the 5 pay again. And then I go to the homemaker steak knives, same thing. So if you're considering a set of Cutco based on your cooking and budget, knowing you're never going to buy knives again, do you like the idea of kind of like a basic set, flip it over in family set, or do you like the idea of kind of like the one and done? And then I just kind of shut up and watch. I'm watching everything, watching their body language, their eyes, um, letting them talk first, letting them get something out. Now, if you've done this the right way, and I'll kind of go back and talk about that, but if you've done this the right way, usually naturally they're going to go towards the set that they can afford deep down. So this is why I do the 3 set close. And I always compare it to like a TV analogy of like, let's say, you walk into a Best Buy and you're looking at all the wall of TVs from $12,000 all the way down to like a $250 TV. Most people, again, they want the biggest and the best. Like everybody wants that new 80-inch, whatever. TVs are crazy now. They're crazy expensive. Um, like the $12,000 TV, they're not going to waste that salesperson's time, that salesperson's time when they walk up and talk to them, because they know they want that, but they look at the price. They're like, "There's no way in hell I cannot like. There's no version of me being able to spend anywhere near that on a TV." So they're going to naturally go to the one that they know they can afford, right? So that's the idea with the 3 set close. Of asking them now the approach is done the way it is because you sell them hard on the ultimate pieces. If they can't afford it at this point, they're going to pick the complete set and they're kind of showing you their hand a little bit, right? So at this point, it's kind of like, asking soft closing questions. Oh, by the way, we have the white handles, or, do you like the classic handles more? We also have, this honey oak block. We also do a cherry block. By the way, do you have a picture of your kitchen? Like maybe I can kind of recommend what's best. I love having people pull up their phones of pictures of their kitchen. Um, and then I'll even ask, like, yeah, by the way, would there be anything else you kind of be curious about besides the knives, either today or at some point in the future, or just the knives? Right. So it's like slowly ask. My goal is always to, soft closing questions without having to ask for the order. I haven't really asked for the order in a long time, every now and then, just because it's so much more smooth when you kind of ask it the soft closing questions. Eventually you're kind of getting an idea of, their body language. They're either going to say something like, all right, cool, sounds good. Well, we just got here. Like, we're gonna walk around, we catch up with some friends, or they're gonna like look at each other and do like well, what do you think, honey? Like, well, I don't know. We've been talking about this forever. Like your mom, they'll have their little conversation and like pull out their credit card, right? Um, so yeah. So basically, again, when the with this roadmap, the biggest mistake that a lot of people do is they sell the signature pieces. You get excited about those, but then you kind of like half-ass, for lack of a better word, on the ultimate pieces. And I've seen this many times. I know with our coaching group, anytime I notice, and I'll kind of not really call out, but it's a kind of a cool story with Renee last year. I remember we had a one-on-one call where I noticed she had like a string of three, four, like five signatures in a row. And anytime there's that many signatures, it tells me that like something's up with like the ultimate selling pieces part, right? And I remember we had a call, we kind of went in, dove deep into it again. And then after that, she went on a run of, I don't know, I'm sure she can say it, but she had like three, four, five ulta. She just started popping. And that was a little switch. So that's the biggest difference is you have to get them emotionally attached to those pieces. So if you notice, it's a lot of asked and answered. It's a lot of, hey, do you do this? Have you ever done this? Do you struggle with this? Would you see yourself using this? Show them pictures. Um, they're subconsciously selling themselves on it. They're becoming emotionally attached to those items. And then when you ask them, like, well, which set makes most sense for you? Like, well, I like all those pieces because I do the squash and I do a brisket and I like having a raw meat knife and a longer paring knife. So it's great because when they pick the complete set, um, 9 times out of 10, they can budget it if they want to, and they're sold on the pieces. At that point, it's just your job to make them pull the trigger with, you know, whether you do a little extra deal or freebie or whatever, right? So, let me see if that's it. Okay. So yeah, so that's kind of the roadmap for that. Now, the the other flip side of that is dropping down correctly because the reality is not everybody buys an ultimate, and we know that. Um, Again, most people want the ultimate when you introduce it and explain it the right way. But the key to dropping down is to word it correctly and have a process that you do every time. This is, again, keep saying it's just as important. Identify the objection. It's either going to be too many knives or too much money, which the great thing about this approach is it's usually not too many knives because you've sold them on the pieces. They become attached to the pieces. And if they pick the complete set, like it's not too many pieces because they told you they would use those. It's usually a money thing, 9 times out of 10. Um, so you want to listen to the objection and provide a solution versus just showing them all the small sets to get a quick sale, right? It's kind of like starting to get CPO breath, right? I just want to sell you something because you wasted my time and I've used the turn on you. I just got to sell you something. So the thing that I've noticed years now from doing fairs, every year is kind of like a new year at the fair. Most years we sell a lot of the big sets like normal. We sell ultimates, we sell signatures, we sell these big things. But every now and then, you just have a weird year where people just don't buy them, and you have to learn to adjust. This past year is kind of funny because I did sell more ultimates than I ever have, but fair season was just rough in terms of the big sets. I know I talked to Liz about this, and I've told a couple other people. It's just I sold more tray sets than I ever have. And it was just wild. It was like a substantial amount. But what I noticed is the majority of them came from dropping down. It was just a weird year where, for whatever reason, people they just could not budget the payments. Like it didn't matter how I phrased it or what I said or how many free gifts I gave or disc like $200 off. It didn't matter. They were not budgeting the $700, $800. So I really had to lock in and focus on the 5 piece and the 13 piece. So, this is, again, just as important as getting really good at presenting the ultimate. That's just half the battle. The other half is getting really good at dropping down. The last thing we want is, a bunch of people walking away thinking about an ultimate and never actually getting it because they now just assume that they have to wait until they feel like dropping $4,000 on a set of knives, which we know is never going to happen. That emotional high is gone. The emotion of them being there and getting excited about the pieces, like selling Cutco, it's 90% emotional, and that's not there anymore. So at that point, every year they're now going to walk past our booth and they're going to either say it to us or say in the back of their mind, like, oh, like there's Cutco. Yeah, those expensive knives. Like, I'm not spending $4,000 on a set of knives. Like, I can't afford Cutco. I'm never going to buy Cutco because that's all they know. Right. So the best way to do this is to utilize the upgrade program. Plant seeds for future business at the same time. So after you've done your BVAC process, whatever that is with the sheet or hopefully using a sheet, it's easier that way. If you found that it's just too much money, which again, that's usually the objection, You want to stay away from any kind of phrasing of like, hey, let me, buy the smaller set or let me show you the smaller option and start changing your verbiage to, hey, real quick, let me show you this program that we have designed to move you into a set over time. It makes them feel understood, not just telling them like, hey, you're poor, like I'm going to sell you something smaller, even though I know you want this, right? Um, so I kind of do some of the phrasing is I'll say, hey, so just so I know, so we're on the same page. Sounds like you guys like the idea of the complete set, or sounds like you eventually would like to have this complete set, right? Okay, cool. Now, real quick, I just want you to know all your options before you go. I never want people leaving here thinking, hey, if I don't spend $4,000 on knives, we can't get any Cutco today. I always tell my customers like, even a few Cutco knives are still better than hundreds of bad knives. And at this point, I open my book straight to the 13-piece set and then the 5-piece. So let's say, so what's cool, we have these two smaller options. They actually don't even make this on the website. This is like a State Fair exclusive. So what they did is they took 5 of our most popular pieces out of the big set that you want, put it in a little drawer insert so that way you have a temporary place to put them. What's cool about this is it actually locks into the special, um, locks into the special, over time so that when you're ready, we have an upgrade program. We do this with steak knives or without. So kind of got ahead of myself, but so Cutco has an upgrade program specifically made for people like yourself, designed to move you into the complete set over time. Because even if you don't buy any Cutco, it sounds like you're going to need some knives soon. You're going to go to the store, you're going to buy something else that isn't USA made, isn't warranted. And at that point, you're literally just throwing your money away. So the way it works is regardless of which set you start with, we lock you into the discount. And when you're ready to move to the complete set, we subtract the value of what you own from the price of the set that you want. You just pay the difference from the two sets. This way, you don't have to buy a whole new set again, and we don't penalize you for not just buying the whole set today. I would say, Miss Jones, my goal is to help you guys find something that you like and that makes sense in the budget right now, because I know once you have a few pieces, you're going to be addicted and you're going to want to order the rest from me. I become your personal kitchen concierge and help you with all your service and sales down the road. So that being said, knowing you can upgrade down the road, do you like the idea? Like, would you guys want some steak knives for now, or would you be fine on holding off the steak knives for now? So it's like an either or close, right? I show them the 13-piece and then I show them the 5-piece back and forth. So it's like a either or. Um, again, you're selling them on you being their rep, helping them, upgrade down the road, and giving them a deal when they're ready, whether it's next year at the fair or whenever. So the progression of kind of how I do it is, I guess some people they'll do an ultimate and then they do a homemaker and then a galley, and it's like my thing that I've noticed over the years is there's only so many no's before you've lost them, right? I try to eliminate all the no's. I want to get to the yes as quick as possible, especially at the fair where when it's busy, it's busy. So you get 3 no's, they're checked out, they're done. So for me, I kind of what I say fall down the stairs. I go straight to the 13-piece. I also put the 11-piece because that's something that Bass Action recently included, and they're actually kind of money. And I know it's a little bit less than the 13-piece, but for those of you who don't know, it's a 5-piece tray set with 4 steak knives and shears, which I'm starting to like a little bit more because, again, the demo is towards the ultimate and they're excited about the shears. So this is nice because it's already in there. And I've noticed when I start showing that, they're like, oh, it comes with the shears too. They get super excited about it. So 13-piece or 11-piece, and then the 5-piece. And at this point, it's just get Cutco in their home. It's like, I'll even say something like, hey, here's the thing. It sounds like it's safe to say you guys are going to get Cutco at some point. Oh, yeah, for sure. It's just not a good time right now. Totally get it. Here's what I always tell my customers. Like, even if you have one good Cutco knife, it's still going to be the best knife in your kitchen. You're going to love it. You're going to use it every single day. But the best part is, too, you actually become my customer. So then you'll get access to my customers' sales in the future. So when you're ready, I would say my timing is your timing. When you guys are ready, whether it's in a few months, a couple of years, next year at the fair, whatever, I'll be your guy and I'll always make sure to hook you up in the future. Here's the best part. You can take the price of this knife, divide it in 2 months, which is going to be a lot less than you're going to spend here at the fair on booze and food. What do you think? And at that point, it's like, if they don't buy a knife, it's like, add them to your CRM or they weren't actually interested, right? But get Cutco in their home, get them on your list. So that's like your last ditch effort, right? You spent all this time. They've been with you 20, 30, 40 minutes. Hopefully not. It's like they're going to get Cutco from me at some point. Again, this past year, I had a bunch more single pieces. I know everybody likes to laugh because I don't sell single pieces, but I sure did last year. But I'm excited because they have Cutco, and since then I've had people call me and buy sets over the phone, and people excited to come see me next year. So finish the job, right? Don't just stop because they walk away on an ultimate, or they say no to a 5 piece. Even like take the extra time they've already been there to sell them one piece. Um, so to recap, ultimates are the best way to jump your averages and turn those good days into great days. Your belief needs to be bulletproof. You have to believe that it's worth every single penny, that it is the best set, and all of the pieces will be valuable to them at some point in their lives. And it's a forever investment, or their kids' lives. Don't prejudge. Again, it's not your job to prejudge who can and can't afford an ultimate. Um, Drop down utilizing that upgrade program. Make the in a way that makes them feel understood, like you're actually on their side. You're trying to help them find a solution versus just trying to sell them stuff. And then you're also planting seeds for future business. They'll come see you next year, and then they will upgrade. Um, and lastly, it's our best set. So why wouldn't everybody want to have the best set and maximize the time that you're already at the fair? So that's what I got. Hope that helps.
Very cool. Well, thank you, Luciano. We have about 5 minutes for questions for Luch. I have two just little technical ones as far as how you do the approach. Do you think there's a difference between using the three sets on one page? Because I see when you do it, you always flip through it in the book.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a difference there? And do you just use the vast action like Shun comparison in there, or do you have a Williams Sonoma or a different one you use?
Um, so I let me try to make Liz the host again. So first question, yes, I actually am not a huge fan of the three sets on one page. I have it, I think somewhere, but I like to. It's like the psychology of like taking
That's what
the
I'm
basic
getting.
set and then I flip in as a fan, and then I kind of leave it on the complete set, and I
Right.
kind of like want to watch a reaction.
Gotcha.
Um, so I've noticed that that does work a little better. And then you said the second part was what, the price comparison?
Do you use the one that's just included in the specials binder that we bought, or do you have
Yeah,
a separate
that's
one
a
that you?
good one. And honestly, the one that I still have, and I think like Marissa gave it to a bunch of us
Okay,
like a
use
few
that
years
one. Cool.
ago, the Shun one.
Cool.
That's great. So I'll show that one or the one in the book. But again, the idea is just to kind of show them another brand. They can see that it's thousands of dollars. And then kind of like making sure you mention like, hey, like they're great knives. You got to baby them. There's daily honing with Cutco. You don't have to do that.
Awesome. Other questions for Luch? Going once.
I mean, I'll ask a question. It might have been kind of a one-off with a client that we they weren't planning on buying. We got them on 5 pieces, and with enthusiasm, we dropped up to a signature last year, and then they called later the next day and had to cancel. And I was wondering, do you know if there's like any signs where like maybe we're going outside their comfort zone? And this isn't something they can actually do, or they were saying yes, so I was just kind of going with what they were saying, and then I wasn't able to save it over the phone. Is there anything that you've run into where you can handle that?
Yeah, it's a good question. Actually, funny, I just had this week that kind of situation where like it was great interaction at the booth. They were excited, and then they emailed me the next day. I was like, "Hey, we're gonna cancel. We got the heat of the moment, the excitement, and like you guys came back twice. You came to me, like." But the reality is like part of this business, it's just gonna happen. I would say don't look too deep into it. But the one thing that I do that I like to actually ask at the end of the interactions, a lot of times when, especially when it's like a big order, after everything's done, after like the let go, all that stuff, they have the receipt. I like to just kind of like ask them like, hey guys, real quick, you guys excited? And like I let them kind of like sit and like see how they respond. They're like, yeah, no, we've been wanting this forever. Like we can't wait. Like blah blah blah, whatever they say. If I notice any kind of hesitancy, if they're like, yeah, yeah, they're like something there, I'm like, hey, well, what's going on? What are you thinking? Like, yeah, it's just a lot. Like unpack it a little bit. And I've had a couple times where it's like, Hey, here's the thing. I want you guys to be happy and comfortable with your, what you guys decided to do. The last thing I want is for you guys to get home and feel really bad about this. And, I don't want to take food off the table. I don't want you guys to go home and decide to change your mind and cancel. So if you want, we can start you with the smaller set. Like I said, we have the upgrade program, and like maybe you can do a little bit of that. It's very rare, but that's how I've handled that. But yeah, I wouldn't look too deep into it. It's part of the business. Everybody gets canceled every now and then. It happens.
Cool. Thank you.
Yep.
That's good.
Good question though.
Cool. Any other questions for Luciano? All right, cool. Well, there's